Forget what you learned in school. Never mind what your parents told you, and disregard what your friends say. From now on, the only people you need to listen to are these guys. For the next several minutes, they'll take you on a journey through the political jungle. And when your journey is over and you're safe at home, they promise you'll be stronger, smarter, and just plain better. So buckle up, hang on to your ears, because your journey starts now.
Brian.
What?
Brian, the show's starting.
Hey, just a second. Almost there. There we go.
All right. Whew. That was weird. See, I told you that the show starts at 7:30.
I know. I'm sorry. When you gotta go, you gotta go.
There's not even a toilet in here.
That's what's so strange.
Yeah, it is.
And a little sad.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Usually you can't even hear me doing that because I'm in a Depends. It just...
I've noticed.
Anyways.
I'm aware.
I'm aware, which is a precursor for what might be coming up. We want to welcome you to At Odds for another enjoyable journey through the political jungle. We're your guides, Nate and Brian. We are broadcasting from the back room of the King George III and Queen Pub and Studio in a large city in what country, Nate?
Cook Islands.
Cook Islands. Wow.
Yeah.
Cook Islands. We're in the Cook Islands. It was a tough flight coming down, and the landing was a little rough, but we made it. That was a little bit of a foreshadowing, as we like to use in our shows. It's in a literary device. In a literary? I don't think it's a literary device.
The Cook Islands?
It's a literary device. No, the King George III, because today's show will have the author, Len Lamensdorf, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, is an award-winning author of 8 novels, 3 plays, and 1 motion picture. And we will be discussing his new book, The Ballad of Billy Lee, and other topics, so hang on. Now, Billy Lee was a slave of George Washington, and that's why I chose King George III, because he was the tyrannical king of England during the American Revolution. Might remind you, you can call in. This is a talk show, damn it.
It is.
And you can call in at 248-455-ODDS or 248-455-6337. Like us on
Facebook, facebook.com/@oddshow.
And visit our website,
@oddshow.com. Also, email us, talk@oddshow.com.
Talk, really?
Talk
when did that happen?
@oddshow.com. That's happened always. That's always been available. And
really?
I just haven't
didn't
told
get the
you
memo.
about it. No, you didn't.
You spent the $4 to get that? Excellent.
Yeah.
Also, we want to
Something
get
like that.
we want to plug our book. Nate and I are authors. Tip tally ho, we're authors. We're in here smoking cigars and drinking cognac.
Which is not at all how Len acts, who is an
he's
author
an
as
actual
well.
author, but we're an author of My Parents Open Carry, a kid's book, a pro-gun kid's book about a day in the life of Brenna and her parents who open carry handguns for the protection of themselves and their family. It's a great book. You can go to myparentsopencarry.com. Check out the book. You can read some excerpts. You can order now at a reduced rate and get an additional great book from White Feather Press.
Yeah, great deal.
You can't beat
Great
it.
deal.
2 books for one. So
It's pretty good.
here we are.
Speaking of open carry, Brian, I know this isn't in your script here. That
you're going off script.
There.
I can't
I know,
handle
I
it.
know. Did you see the vet, though, in Texas?
The dog vet or the cat vet?
Horse vet. He's large animal vet.
Okay.
Okay. He was open carrying, walking down the side of the road,
Are
right?
we going to go there? That's way out of order.
That's where we're going. Okay. He was on a hike with his son, who is an Eagle Scout.
No, he's working on his Eagle Scout badge.
Okay,
and they were on a
okay.
10-mile hike in the boonies in Texas, where it is lawful to open carry a long gun, not a handgun, unless you're hunting. Texas is very restrictive that you cannot open carry a handgun, but long gun for hunting and personal protection. You know, there's coyotes out there, there's cougars out there, 40-year-old women out there. You know,
That's
you never know when you're going to be attacked. Anyways, he's on a long hike out in the boonies. He comes back to a somewhat civilized road near a town, And the local fuzz go, hey, come here, buddy.
Yep.
What you got there? Now, I want to say he's a highly decorated, I think, Master Sergeant, active duty near Fort Hood, Texas. Go ahead. Take it from here.
Well, I mean, the police called him over. He went, he stopped when they told him to stop. He went back towards their car when they asked him to, and the cop just grabs onto his rifle, onto the rifle that this veteran is carrying, and holds it, pretty much, saying, oh, you can't have this. I have to make sure you can legally be here.
You can legally own this because you're rudely displaying it.
Yeah,
rudely displaying it. As
displaying
opposed to kindly displaying it, properly displaying it. I'm not sure where rudely displaying it comes in. Anyways, they harassed the hell out of this guy.
Yeah, they did.
And he's like, what the hell are you guys doing? This is lawful. They really violated this man's rights.
Absolutely.
And then, because they didn't like him, and his 15-year-old kid is filming this, scared out of his mind because his dad's being harassed by the man. At one point, they drew their weapon and pointed at the guy's head.
Yep.
We're going to disarm you for our safety. Well, what about his safety?
Well, it doesn't matter. And in fact,
he's
in fact,
got a gun pointed at him by an official, a governmental official. It's bullshit.
The one police officer, the sergeant, said, we're exempt from the law.
Yeah, we can do what we want.
We're exempt from the law. No, you're not.
We're taking this for our safety, yet they arrested him.
Yep.
For resisting arrest.
Resisting a police officer or something like that.
Which he doesn't because his son videotaped it.
Yeah.
He asked questions. And
he said, this was before he was videotaping, when they grabbed his rifle, he jumped back and said, what do you think you're doing?
Right.
Now, I have a bit of experience with this.
You have.
Because I had a firearm grabbed onto by a police officer. A police officer who no longer works for the police department he worked for at the time.
Excellent.
I'd like to throw that in there. He grabbed onto my gun. I know what it feels like. It's not a good feeling.
Yeah.
And if you're aware and, doing the right thing, your reaction is going to be move away or do something. In my case, I had a nice bruise on my arm.
And he snuck up behind you and actually grabbed your gun. You didn't know who it was, kind of.
Right.
I mean, you could have punched him in the face.
Sure. And like I said, I ended up with a nice bruise on my arm because I did move it in one direction fairly quickly.
Yes. But anyways, the point is, these jackbooted thugs, and I hate to use that term, but I will. I'm not sure what a jackboot is.
You offended it, whatever it is.
It's the opposite of a Jill boot, because Jack and Jill went up the hill with boots.
And only one of them fell.
Yeah, it was Jack. He broke his heel on his boot.
Right.
Anyways, the point is, this guy is being railroaded. Now, what we find out is that apparently the prosecuting attorney in that area around Fort Hood is horribly anti-gun, and he is trying to prosecute everyone and everybody for anything he can related to a firearm.
Yeah, so
now, it's not a firearm charge. It was a resisting arrest, and it's dropped down to impeding a city official or some crap. It's still a $2,000 fine.
A duty.
And if he's convicted, he could be booted out of the military. He's a career Army guy.
Yep.
He's got a picture of himself with George W. Bush. I mean,
and that might be part of the problem here. But
I see.
This is Texas, right? Texas, the haven of
bastion
freedom,
of freedom and gun rights.
And,
bullshit.
And they're not they're not really as pro-gun as people think they are. In general, it's probably a good place to live. They're doing pretty well economically, but things like this happen everywhere, I guess is the point.
All over.
Now, the 15-year-old
here
son
in the what islands?
The Cook Islands.
The Cook Islands.
Especially here.
Yeah.
What the 15-year-old son obviously can't drive home or anything like that.
Oh, yeah. So the cops said, well, we'll take him home.
Yeah, of course. And they'll give him a ride home. That's probably standard procedure.
And his dad said to the son,
do not answer any questions.
Do not talk to the police.
Until your mother's there, she'll answer their questions.
Right.
Supposedly, this part is not on video, when the police, I assume, got to their home, wouldn't let the child out of the squad car until he answered their questions.
Right. Intimidating.
And the kid was scared. On the video, when his dad's being put in the car, you can hear him crying.
Yeah.
And his dad's saying, don't worry about me, I'll handle it. Yeah. Tell your mom to call the lawyer.
It would be traumatic.
Yeah, for anybody. I mean, and this is a 15-year-old kid.
And that's the idea, I think. Is
yeah,
to have
of course
that's the idea. The damn state intimidate everybody to do their will.
Of course, and now the kid is, you see a police officer, he doesn't know if they're good or bad. I mean, and the really sad part here is the dad says, he's a vet. He says, if our rights are being infringed like this at home, what am I fighting for?
Right. It kind of takes
he's putting
the
his
wind
life
out
at
of
risk.
your sail.
Yeah, and that's not good for the country.
No, because eventually they're going to say, "Screw you! I'm not going to do this." Now, yeah, they grilled the kid. They wouldn't let him out of his car to go see his mom until they answered the question. Now, what is a 15-year-old kid going to do? He's going to talk. I don't know what he
was
said,
scared.
but that is crap. That's a lawsuit right there. I'm not sure that an official can hold a minor and grill them like that lawfully without a parent there.
I've seen cases that they've done it here in Michigan.
Yeah, but I don't know that it's lawful.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyways, we haven't heard the last word. I mean, I'm sure he is going to file some things, but right now he has a legal defense fund, and I wish we had his name here so we could plug his legal defense fund. But if you Google vet arrested for rudely displaying a firearm, you're going to find all kinds of stuff
for sure.
there, and help him out if you can. Which goes to the next vet. Are we done with this? Can we go to the next vet?
Oh, sure, yeah.
50-year-old David Schmecker is an honorably disabled U.S. Navy veteran from Connecticut, no criminal record, no psychiatric history, was actually stormed by the local police because he wanted to make an appointment, I think, he had a spinal injury. And he was having some pain, and he wanted to get seen by a doctor, and they were saying, oh, yeah, but you need to see a psychiatrist and a psychologist.
Yeah, they scheduled a 3-hour block of appointments for him with a psychiatrist, a psychologist.
This is through the VA, I'm
assuming. Through the VA.
Yeah.
And this is part of the plan.
Napoleon the Emperor.
Yep.
Homeland Security said
exactly right.
Every veteran has post-traumatic stress syndrome. Therefore, their Second Amendment rights are nullified.
And that's what happened to this guy. He went to a friend's house. He claims he changed his answering machine message in case his friend called him while he was on the way, so he would know he was there. The doctor called and said it was an odd message on his machine, so he reported him to the police.
Yeah. Thank you, doctor.
Now, I don't know what the message said, but it doesn't matter.
I don't know.
It doesn't matter what the message said.
Next thing you know, the cops are coming to his house
demanding to open his safe, saying if he didn't open it, they would blow it up. They would blow into it.
And the poor guy, I know he's scared. I've been rattled by the cops. It's horrible.
And that's their tactic.
That's their tactic. They know your adrenaline's flowing. They know you're going to submit and stuff, but you got to stand tall. You got to know what your rights are. I would have said, you know what? If you want to blow my safe,
go ahead.
I don't consent to it, but I can't stop you.
Sure.
Do what you want, but I don't consent to anything. Blow it up. Take me to jail. Do what you got to do, but I don't consent to anything. But he didn't have witnesses. It wasn't recorded, so it's frightening, and he knew that. He knew it wasn't recorded. He knew he had no witnesses. So he opens up. They take all his gun. They take his concealed pistol license away from him. Blah blah blah. It's horrible.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And he hasn't done anything wrong.
Crime. He's not even charged with a crime.
Now, I don't like the conspiracy theory people. There's lots of stuff that's out there that's kind of crazy, but I'm going to tell you that the attack on U.S. veterans, there's no doubt in my mind that it's going on and it's intentional. If you wanted to disarm the most qualified, trained people in your country, who would you go after? You'd go after veterans.
It's obviously the military.
Yeah. You'd go after the vets because they've had training. They can work with militias. And so it seems like this government, more than any other, is going after these veterans, trying to take their guns away, trying to intimidate them. And for what end? That's what I want to ask. What is the end game? Oh, well, I think we know.
We know. And all of you people who are saying the government won't ever take your guns, this is it. And this is gun confiscation.
This isn't isolated. There have been lots of cases.
They're doing it in New York now.
Military are going after veterans and anybody with any kind of excuse for mental, illness. If you're taking a drug to help you for depression, bam, you lose your gun rights.
Yeah, it's a progressive thing, which is why I call them on the left, not me, but that's why they're called progressives, It's not storm all Americans' houses and take their guns. It's do it small chunks at a time. And eventually,
nobody notices.
Eventually they're at your house.
Right.
They will be
at your house. I had a coworker that said the same thing. I was explaining that to him today, and he goes, what do I'm not a veteran. What do I care? Exactly.
You're next.
Exactly.
You're next. I saw
but he's young and dumb.
I saw a group, I think, in England with a sign, ban all knives. Right, because they have gun control there.
Yep.
What's next? Knives.
Guns.
It's the same thing. We're going to take a quick break. 2-4 Oh, boy. Say our 248-455-ODDS, 248-455-6337.
Excellent.
Facebook.com/AddOddShow, AddOddShow.com.
We'll be back in a minute.
The voice of American conservatism. WRS Digital, Red State Talk Radio.
Fact. U.S. credit card debt is 8 times larger than it was 30 years ago. No wonder you and I are feeling the credit card crunch. You're not alone. Increasing prices and the costs of credit are stretching budgets and preventing people just like us from getting ahead or just catching up with our debts. At American Financial Debt Relief, we can help. We have tested ways to help you get out of debt. Find out how now. The call is free to learn more. If you qualify, we can reduce your interest, show you how to stop your debt from getting larger, and help you get out of debt faster than you can by making minimum payments. So if you're falling behind on your credit cards or medical bills, give us a call right now, where a free 5-minute call can change your life.
800-978-4815. 800-978-4815. Reduce your credit card debt. Call now. 800-978-4815. 800-978-4815.
Real radio for real Americans.
Red State Talk Radio.
Obama wants your money, and he's determined to get it. He wants your money to buy off unions, his Wall Street cronies, and to expand the Obama welfare nation. Well, Swiss America is determined to stop him from stealing your money. They want to send you an award-winning film, I Want Your Money, on DVD that exposes his plan. It'll help keep the government's hands off your money using gold, silver, and other hard asset strategies to protect your hard-earned money. Call today and request the DVD, I Want Your Money, normally $19.95, yours absolutely free. Let Swiss America show you how to use gold, silver, and other hard assets to protect your hard-earned money. Call now. 800-932-5146, 800-932-5146. Call Swiss America right now. Learn all about investing in gold. 800-932-5146, 800-932-5146. Call now.
And we're back. You're listening to At Odds with Nate
And Brian.
Actually, I'm Brian, and
I'm Nate.
Yeah. All right. We've got a soundbite, right, from our great representative in the State House.
Yeah, we do.
No, in the
not
national.
in the State House.
No, it's not.
Senate
Unfortunately,
Majority Leader.
It's on our National House. You gonna do it?
No,
Play it,
I
baby.
don't. I don't want to.
Okay.
I don't think we should.
I think
I don't
should.
think it's really appropriate.
Oh, I think you're lying.
On the anti-gun legislation before the Senate, we're making good progress in the effort to schedule a series of votes on amendments to the anti-gun violence legislation before the Senate.
Anti-gun.
No, it's the Gun Rights Protection Act or Safe Gun Protection Act.
Was Harry Reid just?
I think he was being honest.
Was it Freudian?
No, I think he was being honest.
You think he was being honest?
Yeah, because all politicians are honest.
You know, he used to oppose assault weapons bans and things like that, right? He used to be somewhat less anti-gun.
Yeah. Well, he's getting old and senile.
And that's it. And I do think that might be part of it because he's changed a lot.
And well, you know, as you get older, you get senile. Don't I know it?
Yeah, you do.
Anti-gun legislation. So, anyways, we do want to say, on a serious note, the Boston bombing, our best wishes go out to all those that are suffering. We don't know what's going on. There's still information coming in, but lots of pundits out there making all kinds of undocumented, speculative claims.
As
like
is normal.
Wolf Blitzer. Oh, it's got to be an anti-tax group. I was talking to somebody, and I won't mention who it was, but mentioned the anti-tax thing, and she said, well, what does that have to do with it? I said, listen, it's in Boston. It's on Patriots Day. And she's like, what? I go, the Boston Tea Party? Yeah. That was about taxes.
Yeah.
And Patriots Day and all that. Oh, I didn't.
Let's not forget, I did get a note, actually, that the Boston Tea Party, the Tea Party in Boston, was just recently kicked out of the Senate
Oh, yeah, you mentioned that.
For cheering too loudly when a Republican proposed scrapping a tax increase.
Yeah, I know. It's terrible. Let's not express your First Amendment rights.
No. You don't have a First Amendment right when the government's involved.
No. Anyways, all kinds of speculation. It's tax day. It's all this crap. Blah, blah, blah. But we're going to get into a great commentary and an insightful, his years of political experience, insightful comment
and
into this horrible disaster, regional, local bombing disaster.
Yeah, that's a whole nother topic about the feds being involved from the beginning.
Right, and it's really a state thing, but,
At the beginning, until you have some intelligence, unless they already did. Yeah. Once you get some intelligence that maybe it should expand beyond the state, then do that. But the man you're talking about is, in fact, Elmer Fudd. Now, you'll hear the question here. You'll hear the question, and then Elmer Fudd will go into the answer.
You're hunting wabbits.
What are your impressions of the response here in Boston so far?
I'm glad you raised that because it gives me a chance to make a point I've felt strongly about. In this terrible situation, let's be very grateful that we had a well-funded, functioning government. It is very fashionable in America, and has been for some time, to criticize government, to belittle public employees.
Really, it's fashionable
talk about
just
their
now?
pensions, to talk about what people think is their excessive health care. Here we saw government in two ways perform very well. First of all, the city government charge moves efficiently and rapidly and bravely.
Stop that.
Secondly,
Stop it.
You have added...
Stop it. All right. That's crap, because 90% of the people that were helping were citizens.
Private citizens, not government.
And volunteers to the Boston Marathon. All private people. That's crap. Yeah. I hate this man.
Efficiently and rapidly and bravely. Secondly, there has been seamless cooperation you've shown on the program.
Oh, we should
you don't know when it's state and when it's federal and when it's the city. I see the police commissioner on the screen with the head of the FBI in Boston and
this ass is just
and
all
the governor.
Government. Big government.
And it also goes to the recovery. Again, I never was, as a member of Congress, one of the cheerleaders for less government, lower taxes, no tax cut.
Stop. Yeah, no crap.
He was never a cheerleader for less government.
A Boston, Massachusetts,
or lower taxes.
Democrat. I'd never for small government or reducing taxes in any way. Yeah. Okay, thanks, Barney Frank.
Lower taxes. No tax cut would have helped us deal with this, or will help us recover. This is very expensive.
Stop.
A tax cut wouldn't have prevented this.
No.
Will a tax increase?
Obviously,
I mean, what's
all the money
here?
that we've spent here, Barney, didn't stop this from happening, and it never will.
Yeah, where was the TSA on this?
Is we sacrifice our freedoms all the time in the name of safety, and we get neither. We get neither liberty, which he so grandly talks about. Well, I'm all for liberty. Bull crap. Not for liberty. And all we get is a loss of freedom, and we're never going to stop people from acting in crazy ways.
No, we're not. And
the only way to do that is to lock everybody up in prison.
Shh, hey.
Sorry.
Did it with the Japanese. It's not funny because we did.
No, it's not funny.
We did. I know you're not laughing.
I'm not laughing at the Japanese.
No, you're laughing at Barney Frank.
You did it. I'm aware from Big Bang Theory. Bioequipkey. All right. Anyways, we're making fun of him and we shouldn't. He has every right to have a speech impediment.
Yeah,
it's a legitimate thing. There's a name for it. It's woetism or something like that from the Greek word woe because they can't pronounce their R's. But I'm sorry. We've lost Nate. All right. Go ahead. Let's listen some more. You might as well play it so you can cover your laugh.
You have adequately described thousands and thousands of people examining every parcel, questioning people, checking things, providing the medical care. We're not asking people, well, do you have private health insurance or not?
What the hell does private health insurance have to do with this?
Maybe the government's going to have to pay for it.
Maybe the government's going to have to pay for it.
This is an example of why we need, if we want to be a civilized people, to put some of our resources into a common pool.
We weren't civilized
so we are
before?
able to deal with it.
No.
And to deal with it, you can't simply be responsive once it happens. there have to be in place experts in detection, experts in public health. So, on the whole, I would say this is a terrible day for our society.
That's true.
But a day when I hope people will understand the centrality of having a government in place with the resources. And, for Boston, this is an enormous expense. Let's be clear that the police, the fire, at a time like this, no one thinks about it.
Stop it for now. All the money that we've spent in Boston didn't stop this from happening. 3 people died, dozens maimed, many serious, and he thinks that we should put more money into that. So what does he want? What
Communism?
does he expect? Yeah, it's absolutely.
I think complete government control of
Nate,
everything.
I'm going to tell you,
I
can tell you how this will never happen again in another Boston Marathon. I can guarantee one way.
Stop having the Boston Marathon?
Exactly.
And that might happen.
Exactly.
That's the kind of thing that might happen. We'll
Let's
get rid of all these public events.
Boston Marathon, it'll never have another bombing there. But we can't live like that.
No.
We have to accept
absolutely
these things
not.
as part of being a free society. But they want to use it as an excuse every time to jump on our freedoms. I hate it.
Take a quick phone call, then we're going to get to a break.
Okay,
and,
we're getting close.
Hopefully come back with
our
Len.
guest. Yeah.
Thanks for calling At Odds. You're on the air. What's on your mind?
Well, I've been listening to you guys.
Ranting?
Obviously, you're freaking out, and I wanted to let you know I was freaking out, too, because
excellent.
Once I heard old Barney's voice, I was... it's like you brought him back from the dead.
Yeah,
I heard his voice for some time, and I thought my life was complete.
Yeah, why is he still around? I'm
But
not sure.
I wanted to let you know that you can use the word conspiracy, because according to my Webster Pocket Dictionary and Thesaurus,
yes,
conspiracy is a plan or act of 2 or more persons to do an evil act. So that's pretty simple. So feel free to use conspiracy. It's not, in fact, educate the people that are listening to you.
You just did.
That's the simple meaning of it.
You just
because
did.
Obviously, the media has used the word conspiracy as this big, giant, evil thing like the leftist media does.
Yeah, it has a very bad connotation.
And Barney Frank, too, see.
All right, well, thanks for the call. We're up on a break here, and we're going to...
Every time you ask them... Okay.
We're up on a break. We're gonna come back with
we're gonna come back with
our
our guests. Thanks, Jeff. We appreciate your call. Next time, call a little bit earlier. We'll talk to you a little bit more. But you made a good point about conspiracy. It is a conspiracy if more than one person is involved. Thank you, sir.
We'll be right back.
Red State Talk Radio.
The idea of government taking over healthcare is enough to make you sick.
The conservative voice.
I will never forget the day my son Jeremy told me he hated me and slammed the door in my face. I'm behavioral therapist Janet Lehman. Behavior problems can turn the child you love and your life into a nightmare. That's why my husband James and I created the Total Transformation, the step-by-step program that shows you how to fix the worst behavior problems and get your child to respect and listen to you again. No matter what the behavior, defiance, backtalk, angry outbursts, disrespect, we can help you stop it. Now you can get the Total Transformation for free. All you need to do is get the program and let us know how it works for you. You can keep it forever for free.
Limited number of free programs available. Call now. 1-800-257-2873. 1-800-257-2873. 1-800-257-2873. That's 1-800-257-2873.
Great shot, Bob. I think you're on.
I just followed your lead.
Hey, by the way, did you break ground on your new building?
No way. I'm holding off until I see what the future holds.
So you're seeing a fortune teller?
You know what I mean. Things look a little uncertain.
The only thing certain in business is if you're not growing, you're losing. And we just opened our 5th facility last week. If you're following my lead, you'll call General Steel. Their pre-engineered steel buildings could save you as much as half the cost compared to conventional buildings. And they're up in nearly half the time, and backed with a 50-year structural warranty.
Yeah, but steel buildings...
Hey, you've seen my building. Does it look like steel?
No, it looks great.
Ask about rebates that could save you up to $20,000. Look, you can stop paying rent and own a building that suits your business better and probably saves you money by operating more efficiently. In times like these, don't stop spending, just spend wisely.
800-398-8309, 800-398-8309, 800-398-8309, 800-398-8309.
Red State Talk Radio.
Why spend more than you have to on your life insurance? Did you know that term life insurance rates have fallen over 60% in the last 15 years? At the Life Insurance Quote Line, we monitor the rates, features, and financial strength of hundreds of life insurance products. For example, a healthy 40-year-old can protect his family with $500,000 of 10-year level term for less than $20 a month. Rates for women are even lower. And don't forget to ask us about the new term life policies that guarantee your money back even if you don't die. Since 1986, we've helped tens of thousands of people just like you save a fortune on their life insurance. Why not find out how much you can save? Write down this number and call today for your free quote. 1 5-minute call is all it takes. Call 800-610-3497. 800-610-3497. That's 800-610-3497. Rates, policy forms, and availability vary by state.
And we're back. I'm hearing nothing, Nate.
What would you expect to hear, Brian?
Well, I don't know, but usually I can hear the end of the commercial.
Right, you're listening to Ad Odds. I am Nate. That's Brian.
Screwing up again.
One of us is the professional, and
I know it.
One of us is Brian.
Well, we do have our guest on the phone. I want to tell you a little bit about. Len Lamensdorf is an award-winning author of 8 novels, 3 plays, and 1 motion picture. He's a 3-time Silberman Memorial Scholar and an honors graduate of the University of Chicago, no small feat. He studied playwriting at UCLA. He received a law degree from the University of Chicago, and he completed his postgraduate work at Harvard Law School. Not too shabby.
Not too shabby at all.
Len's career in law and business spanned more than 30 years. He draws on his extensive travel experience on 5 continents, traveling all over the world to create realistic settings for his work. Now, we're going to talk about his latest novel, which is The Ballad of Billy Lee, which is about an African-American slave that was at George Washington's side for over 30 years. Billy was a superb horseman, bold soldier, and a literate aide. He stood next to Washington when he crossed the Delaware, galloped at Washington's side in battle. He was a slave armed with a pistol, which is unusual, a carbine, and a spyglass. He served with him at Valley Forge and throughout the difficult years for the final victory at Yorktown. Find out more about the book and Len at www.lenlamensdorf.com. And Len, we'd like to welcome you to At Odds. Are you there?
Well, I'm very happy to hear, very happy to be here. And you've already covered everything, so you don't really need me.
Okay, hang up. We're done now.
Anyway,
I read your book. It's a great book. It's well written. You know how to write. That's for sure. I recommend the book. If you're any kind of history buff in that period, you really humanize not only Billy Lee, the slave, but George Washington, Martha Washington, and people that they associated with. Very well written. And I didn't realize that George Washington was so.
Well, I thank you for the compliment.
Well, you're welcome. And
it's you're unusual because you're interviewing me and you've already read the book.
I know.
Half the time when I'm doing an interview, or the people have no idea what they're talking about.
Right.
I'm really flattered that you read the book, and
Well, thank you.
Go ahead.
We try to be literate here. I actually can read. I can't talk. I can't talk so good, but I read, and I really like the book, and I recommend it. It was fascinating. I learned some stuff. Now I know you took some literary license, but I'm going to say I didn't realize George Washington had 150 slaves, and that he managed 5 farms before the Revolutionary War. I mean, he had a big estate.
Well, he actually, when he died, there were 317 slaves at Mount Vernon.
Wow.
He didn't own them all.
Right.
His wife owned them because they were dower slaves, and they came from her first husband when he died.
Right.
So there were 317.
Well,
and I hate to give away the high point of the book.
Don't do it.
But when Washington died, don't do it. Okay, I won't.
You can't.
Anyway, he and Billy Lee had an incredible relationship. I just was sent a copy of a letter from a man who was a German who was traveling at the time in the Revolutionary time, and he visited Mount Vernon, and he said that Washington and Billy Lee were so close they didn't even have to talk.
Wow.
Washington would give Billy a look, and he would go do something and come back with whatever it was that Washington wanted. It was remarkable. I mean, it was never, a really close relationship. Billy was a slave, but the fact is he spent more time with Washington than Martha did.
Absolutely.
And probably during the war, he saved Washington's life more than once. There was a time at the Battle of Monmouth when it was over 100 degrees and everybody was going crazy, the Americans and the British, and the front line was a mess. And all of a sudden, Washington, who was on a horse with his sword up in the air, disappeared, and everybody thought he'd been shot.
Yeah.
But what had happened was that his horse had died under him from the heat, and Billy rode up with a replacement horse, and George mounted, and the charge went on again.
That's incredible.
So Billy was there whenever Washington needed him, and he finally admitted he loved Washington. Didn't say it till after Washington was dead, but he did love the man.
Well, I had to think so, and I think Washington must have had some affection for him because they were together all the time. It was like his right-hand man. And the thing about Billy was that he was literate. He could read, he could write, he was articulate, and he was intelligent. Correct?
He was very intelligent. He couldn't have had the job he did. He went with Washington to the Continental Congress. He was at the Constitutional Convention. At all these times, Billy was responsible for Washington's papers, both his private and his public papers. So, in a sense, Washington trusted this man with everything that was of any importance to him. And, one of the great moments in their history is when Billy receives the Declaration of Independence. Remember, he's the aide, and he sees it before Washington does.
Yeah, and
he reads this document.
You have a poignant, part of this in your novel. Go ahead.
Yeah.
And he sees it.
Yeah, and he sees it and he reads it and says, all men are created equal, and they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. And among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. My God, Billy looks at that and he said, does this mean I'm a free man? And he asks Washington, and Washington says, no, this only means we're separate from Great Britain.
Right.
The fact of the matter is that Billy understood the Declaration of Independence better than Washington did. Washington just thought it was one of these documents you have to do, and you're separating from the old country, and you put it in writing. Billy saw the universal. He saw that it applied to everybody. It was a long time before Washington understood that.
Yeah, because slaves weren't considered people. They were property, right? I mean, that was part of what Washington's upbringing was.
Well, Washington at the beginning was no different than the people that he lived with in his era. I mean, Tom Jefferson had nothing but contempt for the African-American intellect. He thought it would be dangerous to free them because they couldn't take care of themselves.
Right.
Now, Washington never thought that. He always realized they were human beings, and if they acted in a certain way, it was because they were treated so badly, not because they were inferior. So he was a man who was quite different from all the others.
But he understood the politics of it. That's, I think, part of the problem that he had.
Well, that's true, because people say, why didn't they end slavery at the time of the Constitutional Convention? Well, there was a very good reason. If the northern states had insisted on ending slavery, there wouldn't have been any United States of America. It would have ended right there.
Yeah.
And we would have had 13 little independent countries, which would have been a disaster.
Yeah, it would have. Well, I mean, England was going towards abolishing slavery as well, earlier than the U.S. was, right?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
They did.
Yeah.
There was a black man who escaped from his master. Oh, this was about 1720s, 25, something like that. And he tried to get him back, and a British court held that he couldn't do that, that the man had the right to freedom. He was an individual, and he couldn't be treated as property. But it took us till after the Civil War, and then, even then, it didn't work. And we finally, in the civil rights movement of the 1960s, finally, African-American people had real freedom.
Yeah.
And that's another novel. I want to say that the full name of the book is The Ballad of Billy Lee, the story of George Washington's favorite slave.
Yeah.
And your listeners, Brian, they can get it at Amazon or Apple or BNC, but they can get it at Amazon in paperback or as an e-book.
Oh, that's
and
nice.
Their choice.
Yeah, the e-books are great now. Well, I was wondering now, Washington changed a little bit in his view, but maybe he was biased because he was so close to Billy, and Billy, like we said earlier, was smart. He could read, he could write. He seemed to be a little political. He could work the system a little bit here and there, and I think Washington saw that and realized, these black people, really aren't animals. They are human beings, just like he was. How important was that, do you think, when...
That's...
Go ahead.
That was exactly 100% right, Brian. You hit the nail on the head. Washington could not spend over 30 years with a man who was so obviously intelligent and brave and well-spoken, and believed that man was inferior. Billy proved that he wasn't inferior. I should tell your listeners that the book is historical, and it's been vetted by people like Joe Ellis, a famous historian, who said it was one of the most unique untold stories in American history. And Joe wrote the introduction, and another Pulitzer Prize-winning historian, Ron Chernow, wrote a note saying how wonderful the story was that I was telling, and how he thought it would be good for the American people to know the story of this remarkable Billy Lee. And I include his letter in the book.
Well,
so, and among other things that you mentioned earlier, there's some romance in this, because there's Washington and Martha, and there's Billy and a lady named Margaret Thomas.
Yeah, you actually spiced it up a little
Margaret bit. Well, it's as true as I can make it.
Sure.
And at the same time, I'm writing a novel, so I take some liberties. But at the end of the book, there's a list, the dates and when things happen, the historical timeline, and a section I wrote showing where I deviated from the true story. But substantially, it's correct.
Right.
It really happened the way I wrote it, and I wouldn't have written it if I couldn't have been honest about it.
Well, I'm sure that Martha Washington and George Washington did have sex, and you describe it in subtle ways, but yeah, they seem to really have an affection for each other. Now, there was another thing I kept, a reoccurring point that you were making about George Washington's physique. Now, I was at Valley Forge, and I saw some of the statues that were life-size. I actually I'm a geologist, so I actually did some geophysical work at Valley Forge with the Department of the Interior, and we were looking for the huts that the soldiers stayed at, and one of the things we were doing was magnetic surveys. And I don't want to bore you, but the fire hearths that they had, they were burning continuously, right, to stay warm. Yeah. And that changes a little bit the magnetic properties of the clays and the soils. And so we were trying to detect these anomalies in the changes in the magnetic field and trying to use it for the archaeologists to dig in those spaces. Oh, that's Nate putting the snoring sound there. Thank you, Nate. But anyway, so I worked there, and I just wanted to throw that in there because, and it looks like we could actually do that. But anyways, George Washington, big man, but you talk a lot about his big butt. What was that about? And I'm trying to be funny here, but you did. Do you recall?
Well, you know, he really had a big butt and thick legs.
Yeah, strong
and
from riding.
Nobody laughed at him.
No, I
because the guy was almost 6'4" and strong as an ox.
Yeah.
But with that thick butt and those thick legs, he could sit a horse like nobody else.
And that's probably where he developed
Tom Jefferson said, Tom Jefferson said that George Washington was the greatest horseman of his age. But George said that Billy did things he wouldn't even try.
Yeah.
So that was one reason for the respect he had for Billy, because he was a great horseman too. Yeah. And the two of them, there wasn't anything they couldn't do. But I would say about George's strength, there's a natural bridge there in Virginia, and it's 215 feet high. And George Washington threw a stone over the top of that bridge.
Wow!
Now that's absolutely amazing.
He could have pitched in the majors.
When young men came to Mount Vernon, you know, sometimes they played games out on the lawn. They would have this big. It wasn't a horseshoe. They kind of were doing the shot put, and they would throw this big piece of metal as far as they could. And one day George came by, and he picked it up, and he threw it far beyond anybody else. He was really a powerful man.
What I liked about him is in your book, and I think it was true, and I think this is true of a lot of successful people, he was not afraid of physical work. You mentioned that he was often out there when he did his rounds helping them move stumps, dig ditches, build buildings and things on his farm.
That's quite true. There was a time when they were building some kind of a structure, and they had this long wooden framework, and there were several slaves and some other people, white people, trying to lift it into place, and they couldn't get into place. George came up, jumped off his horse, gave a push, and the thing went right up. So he would get out there in the field, and he would work. He was not afraid of physical labor, and the people, the slaves, white people, whatever they were, they realized here was a man who would put in just as much effort as they would. And I've learned from my own business experience that people have a lot more respect for the boss if they see him out in the field doing what needs to be done and not just sitting on his throne in his office and giving orders.
Absolutely. One thing I wanted to mention, too, real quick, we're getting close. We have about 3 minutes left. The Custis family and Robert E. Lee, the general from the Civil War, there's a relationship there. And I wanted to say that Mary Ball Washington, George Washington's mother, just like my father's mother.
That's correct.
Looked just like my dad in drag. And Mary Ball Washington, if you look at portraits of her, looks just like George Washington on the dollar bill. It's a striking resemblance.
You're right. That's absolutely true.
It's amazing.
And George's relationship with his mother wasn't really a good one.
Yeah.
But he treated her, well financially and all the rest. But they were never close.
Yeah.
And I don't have an explanation of that, but it's true.
Anyway,
let's say again, lenlamensdorf.com, the website.
Excellent.
LenLamensdorf.com. That's the website, and you can use PayPal on the website if they want to anybody wants to buy a book.
I'm going to recommend everybody should buy it. It's a quick read. It's well written. You can get through it in a weekend with no problem. And the ebook would be fantastic if you got that. Otherwise, the regular, good old fashioned book is just wonderful to have in your library. I just love the book. I just thought it was great. You really bring to life George, Billy Lee, and all the people that were involved. You take us right through and past the American Revolution. You just do a fantastic job on that. Just love it. I think people would really learn a lot about it.
You're very kind.
Well, you'd learn a lot about George Washington.
Well, the book was, about George. When you study somebody long enough, in most cases, you don't think more of them. You learn about their weaknesses, and you end up thinking less. George Washington, the more I've known about him, the more respect and admiration I have for him.
Yeah,
and we have to realize, without George Washington, there's no U.S. of A.
I think you're right. I think you're really right, because he was an extraordinary guy.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're going to wrap up here.
Yeah, well, he invented the presidency.
He really did. I mean, he was the first one. And like you mentioned in the book, he could have been king or he couldn't, but he chose to be Cincinnatus, to be the warrior and come back to the farm. So, great guy. I really respect him.
That's right. That's right. That was one of the greatest things about him. King George III said, if he doesn't make himself king, he's the greatest man in the world.
Yeah.
And Washington didn't. He turned over his sword and his commission, and he went back to being a farmer.
Yep. And we could all learn a little something from that.
A great, great man.
All right, LenLamensdorf.com. Pick up the book. Len, we want to thank you for being on the show here. We are out of time, but we will keep in touch with. Hopefully, you have another novel coming out very soon. So, thank you.
Yes, let us know when you write your next one.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
I sure will. Thanks for giving me this time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, well, it really...
Fascinating stuff.
I love the book. I'm not kidding. It was a delight to read. I would recommend anybody picking it up because it's just a lot of fun to read, and it's really incredible.
Yeah, we just have a couple minutes left. I want to bring up something that your good friend, somebody that you might have even went to college with, Brian, Bill Maher.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't know him.
Did he go to college? I don't know, but I think he has a show on HBO or something.
I don't
stupid.
like him.
And he had a thought about the Second Amendment. He's a great constitutional scholar.
He's an idiot.
Pro-liberty, definitely as right-wing as they come. This is what he had to say.
No, he's an idiot.
There's no left in this debate. Everyone on the left is so afraid to say what should be said, which is the Second Amendment is bullshit. Why doesn't anyone go at the core of
really?
it? Oh, really, David Stockman?
Well, yes,
what if someone said that from the right? Would you like that?
Yes.
All right, I will.
Great.
Now, here's the thing. This is a huge philosophical debate. I detest big government, but I would note that since 1787, the world has moved along. And we're up against people who believe in liberty, like I do. We're up against a 21st century state equipped with drones, hundreds of satellites in the sky, watching everything we do. Right. And why would you believe that an 18th century citizen militia equipped with the equivalent of muskets has anything to do with liberty? It doesn't. The only...
Thank you.
No, but I want to say further,
it has
the only way that we protect liberty is with the ballot box, and the real shield for liberty in America is the First Amendment. Freedom of speech, freedom to organize, freedom to assemble. That's how we get liberty, not with guns.
When all these paranoid types who think that there's going to come a day...
Costas. Yeah. I don't really care about what Costas has to say.
Listen, the thing is, if you don't have arms that equal the military and the government, who's to stop them from inhibiting all your rights?
Absolutely nobody. That's the point. That's why the Second Amendment was written. And the fact, David Stockman here, I think this wasn't widely reported, because he was a budget director for Reagan.
Yeah, which
and I think
was
a lot of people who claim to be on the right now don't want to talk badly about Reagan's cabinet. I don't care. A coward's a coward. And he's going to come in here on Bill Maher's show and say that I'm from the right. I'll say this as a pro-liberty small government person.
Yeah.
Go to hell. You don't represent me because you are wrong.
Listen, if If the government wants to stop the First Amendment, they can do it easily when the citizens are unarmed. That's been proven time and time again. It's happened all over the world. And if they think that, because they have drones and all that crap, that we can't fight back, that's crap. Because look at Afghanistan with the Russians. Look at what's going on in the Arab Spring and all that.
Those Taliban, Al-Qaeda, yeah,
those
exactly.
are people that have simple arms that are fighting back.
But Brian, didn't the Japanese peaceably assemble, and didn't the Indians at Wounded Knee peaceably assemble, and didn't the Jewish people during the Nazi era peaceably assemble with their freedom of speech?
Yeah.
They didn't need guns.
But they were gunned down.
Oh, that's right. They were put in camps and or murdered.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. That's what happens.
And that's what these liberals don't understand, is they think that guns aren't necessary in today's society, and they're absolutely relevant today as they were in 1787, as they will be in 2100.
And the farther we get away from the principles that this nation was founded on, the more important the Second Amendment and armed citizens become.
That's absolutely right. Well, I don't know what else
what are you
can
gonna
say
do?
on that.
Yeah, I don't know.
We're
But
running
we're
out
of time here, so see you next week.
All right, bye-bye.